The truck stops. The tailgate drops. You jump down onto cracked asphalt wearing boots that don't fit, holding a rifle you've only fired twice. The man next to you gets hit in the face for looking at a sergeant wrong. Nobody helps him up. You stare straight ahead and learn the first rule before anyone says a word. Eyes forward, mouth shut, survive today. Level 1, the conscript. You didn't choose this. Maybe it was a lottery. Maybe the recruiter came to your village and your father couldn't buy you out. Either way, you are here. Concrete barracks, mildew smell. Lights at 4:45 a.m. without mercy. You own 3 things: your uniform, your rifle, your bed number. You are Soldier 4471. Not a name, a number. The sergeants are gods here. You learn fast that there are spoken rules and unspoken ones, and the unspoken ones get you beaten faster. You don't eat until told. You don't sleep until told. You don't ask why the man in bunk 12 disappeared and was never mentioned again. You do the work. Drills at dawn. Standing in heat for 2 hours because someone failed inspection. Carrying sandbags across a field and then carrying them back. The point isn't the sandbags. The point is that you do it without asking why. 3 months in, you realize the sergeants aren't the top. They answer to officers. The officers answer to someone you've never seen. The structure goes up, and you are at the very bottom, too far down to see the shape of it. You survive. That's all Level 1 asks. Level 2, the proven soldier. Something shifts after your first real deployment. You went out in a convoy. Something happened on the road. Doesn't matter exactly what. What matters is you didn't freeze. You did what you were trained to do, and everyone who left in the truck came back in the truck. Sergeant Yusuf watched the whole thing and said nothing. 2 days later, he put you on a different rotation. That's how promotion works here. No paperwork, no ceremony, just a change in what you're asked to do. Now you carry messages. You stand outside certain rooms during certain meetings. You move in spaces other conscripts aren't allowed. The currency at this level isn't money, it's trust. You build it by showing up early, complaining never, and never repeating what you overhear in hallways. That last one matters more than you initially realize, because you're starting to overhear things. A weapons shipment that arrived 40 crates short. A colonel who has a house in another country. Small pieces. No pattern yet. But you file them away in a part of your mind you don't open in public. You are no longer just surviving. You're starting to understand the game. Level 3. The junior officer. The commission doesn't come from merit. That's the first thing you learn. Someone vouched for you. An older officer who watched you for 18 months and decided you were useful. He didn't explain why he chose you. You didn't ask. You accepted the rank, the new uniform, the room you share with only one other person instead of 40. You command 12 men now. You know who drinks. You know who sends money home to a sick mother and will therefore do exactly what you say. You know who has ambitions and needs watching. You've become the thing you once feared. The transition happens quietly. You catch yourself shouting at a conscript for a minor infraction and feel no guilt. You feel efficiency. The system is working. You are the system. The orders aren't always clean. You're sent to a checkpoint and told to turn back anyone without the correct authorization code. A woman arrives with 2 children and documentation from the wrong ministry. You turn her back. You don't know what's behind her. You don't know what's ahead. You follow your orders and tell yourself you're maintaining structure in a place that would collapse without it. You sleep fine. That should trouble you more than it does. Level 4, the operator. You don't have a formal title. That's the point. You exist in the space between official orders and unofficial results. The colonel needs something moved, something found, something made to disappear. You handle it. Not because you're a criminal. Because you're competent and discreet and the system needs people who work in the gray. Your income is no longer just your salary. There are envelopes. You clear the equivalent of $12,000 in a month you don't ask too many questions about. You travel now. Operational travel. You meet contacts you won't remember officially. You carry documents in your jacket and information in your head. You understand that the most dangerous thing you carry isn't a weapon. It's what you know. You know which minister owes a favor to which general. You know which border crossing runs on a private schedule. You know that the official military budget is about 60% of the actual one, and where the other 40 goes. Morally, you have moved a long distance from the man on that cracked asphalt. You tell yourself the distance was necessary, that the system needed someone like you, that you've never heard anyone who wasn't already in the game. Most of that is true. Some of it isn't. The parts that aren't, you keep in a small room in your head and don't open the door often. Level 5, the commander, you have 800 men under your command. You don't know all their names. You know your senior officers, your intelligence liaison, your logistics chief, because logistics is where everything real happens. The 800 below them are an abstraction, a number, a capability. This bothers you for about 3 weeks after the promotion. Then it doesn't. Your decisions now ripple in ways you can't track. You order a crackdown in a restive Eastern District. You send 2 companies, set the operational parameters, and receive a report 48 hours later. The report says the operation was successful. It doesn't say everything. You don't push for the rest. The political dimension has become unavoidable. You spend as much time with civilian officials as military ones. You are fluent now in the language of plausible deniability. You know how to make requests that don't sound like orders even when they are. One night, an operation you ordered goes wrong. 3 civilians. The report calls it collateral. The file will never be public. You sign off on the internal review and close it. You sleep. The room in your head has more doors than it used to. Level 6, the general. The promotion ceremony is brief. The uniform is heavier than you expected. Not metaphorically. Literally, the fabric, the metals, the material weight of rank. You stand straighter because of it, and then you realize you've been conditioned to stand straighter because of it, and then you stop thinking about that. You are one of 11 generals in the country. Of those 11, 3 actually matter. You are becoming one of the 3. The game at this level is almost entirely political. You sit in the same room as ministers who control economies, and you can see they are afraid of you. Not you personally. The thing you represent. The men, the weapons, the institutional loyalty you command. You receive daily briefings that tell you more about the country than the president himself knows. That imbalance is intentional. Information is control. You understood that at level 4. At level 6, it's your primary weapon. The president calls you twice a week. He calls you our defender. You call him sir. The relationship is functional and mutual. He needs you to hold the institution together. You need him to provide civilian legitimacy. It is a marriage held together by shared interest and mutual blackmail. You have not fired a weapon in 3 years. You have shaped more outcomes than any bullet ever could. Level 7, the architect. There is a coup attempt. It isn't unexpected. Your intelligence apparatus caught the signal 6 weeks out. Private meetings, a militia supply chain go inactive, a foreign bank account open with startup capital. You let it develop for 5 weeks. You needed to see who else would surface. The information was worth more than the disruption. On the night it happens, you are in your office eating a quiet dinner. Your security detail handles the physical response. By morning, 23 officers have been detained. 11 you already knew about. 12 are useful surprises. In the aftermath, the military is restructured by your office. You remove the men you want removed, elevate those loyal specifically to you, and create oversight mechanisms that route through your command. In the final arrangement, no significant military capacity in the country exists that doesn't trace back to you. You control the armed forces of a nation of 20 million people. You try to remember your friend from the early barracks, the one from the coast who laughed too easily. You can retrieve the fact of him. You cannot retrieve the feeling. You search for it like an object in a dark room and find nothing. You close that room. You close a lot of rooms now. Level 8, the regime. You are not a person anymore. You are a function. That's not self-pity. It's accurate. You live in a compound outside the capital. 600 acres. Security perimeter. Medical facility. Private communications infrastructure. You haven't walked through a public space unannounced in 11 years. Your day is briefings, decisions, and silence. By 10 a.m., you have determined more fates than a person should before lunch. An infrastructure project approved. A dissident organization designated a security threat. A media outlet's license quietly not renewed. A province's police chief replaced with someone whose file you know well. None of it feels heavy. That is the cost you paid somewhere around level 5 and never recovered. The men around you are loyal out of calculation, not devotion. You know this. You'd be concerned if it were otherwise. Devoted men are unpredictable. Calculated men you can manage. The system holds as long as the math holds. You think about the math constantly. Late at night, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., you sit alone at a window. City lights below. The capital arranged like a circuit board in the dark. You built this, not from nothing. But the shape the country is in tonight is partially your architecture. The silence in the press. The elections that happen on schedule and mean nothing. The young men in barracks learning to keep their eyes forward and their mouths shut. You know exactly what they're becoming. You built the machine that makes them. Something moves in you in these hours that doesn't have a clean name. Not guilt, not regret. A recognition that the distance between who you were and who you are is so complete that the original person is functionally gone. Not destroyed, just vacated, replaced, gradually and then, all at once, by the function. The city lights don't care. You go to bed, you sleep. Somewhere in a concrete barracks on the eastern edge of the country, a truck has just stopped. The tailgate drops. A young man jumps down onto cracked asphalt in boots that don't fit. The man next to him gets hit in the face. Nobody helps him up. He stares straight ahead. He thinks the worst part is already behind him. The machine already knows what he's about to become. He doesn't, but he will.